Hi, beautiful souls. My name is Sadhana and welcome to my channel. Today I am doing follow-up readings for your major arcana cards for 2020. And I'll start by looking back to the reading I did for you January 1st, and then have a look at the energy presently as the sun and the new moon meet in the sign of Pisces. With Mercury retrograde also in Pisces, we are intuitively discerning what has been unfolding in the energetic realms. So with an eye on the Emperor and the number 4 for 2020, and a wider lens on the energy surrounding your particular card for this year, I'll do my best to discern where your energy would best be spent in navigating all of this and any intentions you might be setting for this cycle. So let's have a look at the spread. This is the same spread that I used for the readings on January 1st. I just switched up the decks. In the center is the Way Home Tarot. The only major arcana card you'll see is your significator, your card for 2020, which is in the center. And these are the four minor suits divided into piles. And then I've chosen oracle decks to support the energy of each of the suits. This is the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit, Soul Trees, Herbcrafters, Connected and Free, Alchemist, Oracle. Let's begin with the Hierophant. Your reading in January centered around the voice and the challenge of standing your own ground and not letting your truth get lost in the crowd, specifically the council. This could be your circles of friends, your coworkers, your community. And that arrow on the right side of the candle, seemed somehow to emerge from the voice card on its right, and then head straight across the reading to the Ace of Swords that would need to face your council. I also mentioned a couple of times the word cleansing, and how this reading seemed to suggest that taking your stand, standing your ground, would almost feel like a cleansing of the palate, a purification of some kind. And then underneath that, there's two very strong figures, the woman in the Knight of Pentacles and the King of Cups, that seem to provide a sense of balance and support for you moving forth with this message, with this delivery of whatever it is that you need to reveal. And then there's the question of, why is the King of Cups back to this important delivery, to this important message, to this important thing that you have to move forward with? And I hope you've had some time to reflect on that energy, because as we move forward with these readings throughout the year, this might be rather important. So presently, let's kind of see what's going on. These are in the same order as they were last time. Okay, so a very similar energy. So that was the Eight of Wands last time. Very fiery energy, kind of impulsive energy. And we'll do the tarot cards first, and then I'll turn over the oracle cards. Okay. I shouldn't laugh. I am honestly concerned and confused and in regular reflection about this energy. There seems to be an epidemic among young people of mental health issues, or mental wellness is so much in the forefront of our culture. And when I was going to school, this just was not something that we talked about. But today, it's just so there. There are support groups for young people around many kinds of mental health issues. And perhaps if we go back to the reading in January, this might be something that you need to talk about. It might be something that you may need to bring to the council. Here's the Eight of Swords. So this might be a very awkward thing for you to share. It might feel like this might be your own story that you are kind of bringing forth, that you are bringing to whatever I'm going to just use the word council, whatever your council is. And so the Daughter of Wands does have enough courage, and she is supported this year by the energy of the Hierophant to kind of move into that truth, to move into that space. We have the same card. I believe, yes, let me look at the picture. It is the same card. So the Nine of Pentacles is here again, sitting in the suit of Earth. Specifically looking at this card, it just reminds me to really look after yourself, to really look after your physical body in order to support, if we're going to go in the direction of mental health and your mental wellness. There was also a sense in the January reading of this kind of disconnect between heart and mind, and that might very much be something that needs to come forward. Remember, the element of air is the heart chakra. And so if we're working on healing that, there's that piece, but also your physical body is going to need to be nourished. And we're looking at mushrooms here too, right? Psychedelics perhaps. And I know also there is this tendency, this trend to explore our spirituality through psychedelics. We'd kind of be stepping back several decades rather than just allowing these experiences to happen through meditation. So that might be also something that you are experimenting with. But let's just kind of go ahead, turn over the oracle cards and see where we're at. I mentioned early on in the video, so we're kind of looking at, we're in a new moon, second new moon of the year. So if you are setting intentions, the intention of this reading is to help you regroup with your intentions. If there's any way to kind of bring more clearly to focus what your Hierophant is this year and how the Hierophant can support you in your work, in your life, in your role as whatever your role is. And so this is really quite something. So as you begin to, this might be your story, it might be your daughter's story, it might be someone very close to you. I know you've heard me say this before, but this, if your daughter is reflecting this energy, if your daughter is reflecting this story, it is very likely that this story also is held within you, within your own inner child, within your own inner work. So do your best to, as you start to move through this, to allow this truth that we talked about in January to become your own and to really, really own it. Over on the left, we have so much color, so much celebration. If you just look at these three cards and the color and the light here, they feel warm and they feel wholesome and they feel very, very healing. And if you look at the medicine of the Herbcrafters, so we have St. John's wort, which has a lot of healing properties, but one of them, of course, is to help with, if there's any sense of depression that is still being processed. It's really kind of beautiful that these two cards are here. And then we have, look at this, we have heal and heal. And what I'm kind of picking up on here is that the story, the truth, that which you need to reveal to your council, to your community, to your people, is about something about this in your own journey. And you are going to step into the role of teacher as you gain confidence, as you... Remember in January we were talking about the whole communication thing. So if you need to take this in baby steps because it feels uncomfortable, maybe that's why the King of Cups was facing away, was because those emotions are just a little too much. I also made a joke about alcoholism and the king drinking too much. And if that's a tendency for you as well too, just to be aware of that and how the avoidance of the emotions will not help you to kind of work through this. The crocodile sitting here facing into the reading is, I sense, moving slowly and not quite ready to move forward with this. If you look straight across here, you write this potential. There's this potential to work as a healer in your group, in your community, to heal others, to support others through their healing. And so this card to me is about taking your time with this. Also in the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit Oracle, these creatures are in a hierarchy within each suit. And this one, I believe, is the first one in the element of water. So that to me kind of supports, balances the whole idea of kind of that rookie level, right? So we've got the daughter here, not the queen. And we've got a kind of a younger energy here as well too. So to take your time to allow this story to come to the forefront, not to race into it. But the beauty of all of this is that there's this magical healing quality around this whole reading. And that is not something we saw in the January reading. So this is kind of really beautiful that we're kind of building on what truth needs to come to the forefront. So I'm really kind of curious how this does or doesn't resonate with you. And I would really appreciate you commenting below and letting me know if, if this is your story, if this is something that you are working through. And if any of these cards are kind of jumping out of the reading and you would like me to speak to them more, please let me know. Number 6, the Lovers. Your January reading was a rather heavy one. Kind of a wake-up call to step up and out of your story, out of your drama, to perhaps allow your little S self to begin to explore what it means to live as your big S self. Really to kind of give yourself space and time for quiet contemplation. That seemed an important part of that reading. And if you found yourself last month, the last couple of months, quite literally climbing to higher ground, that would really seem in alignment with what your reading was suggesting. So as we move into this, as we are in this new moon cycle, let's kind of have a look at what energy is arising here and how that message from January 1st can be supported, revised, how you can set new goals for this moon cycle, moving toward the process of being, in the Lover's card this year. So I see the 5 of Wands up here. Let's just look at the tarot cards first. Still would indicate that you are very much in this process of revising, of negotiating, this ending. There's a great deal of beauty here too, so I don't want you to be disheartened. And I love seeing that Mother of Swords up in the top left corner. It shows me that you have this strength, this inner support, and you need to lean on her to continue to navigate the waters of these challenges. And this feels significantly lighter than the reading did in January. There is this indication that I don't know if you remember, I talked about in the center of the hexagon, of the mandala, of the lotus for the heart chakra lies the eternal flame that represents the divine self. And I felt in the January reading as well now as that this is your journey this year, is to find that internal flame, to really explore who you are as a soul. And you may very well do that in relationship. It's just a lot harder to do it in relationship than it is to do it outside relationship. So part of this process may be in seeing your relationships from another perspective. The 10 of Pentacles over on the bottom left corner really to me speaks of also finding comfort in the success and the beauty of all that you have been through. I mean, you come to this point and you got there with a lot of hard work, and I don't want you to feel like you just have to drop everything and leave everything and go. So this feels very beautiful, very beautiful. So let me just turn over the oracle cards, and then I'll continue to, so that reconnect with spirit definitely supports. So I'm just looking at the picture for last reading. You had the eagle as well as the goodness card, which was in the top right hand corner of that reading. I just went and grabbed it. This is from the Roots and Wings Oracle. So this card feels very much, the card that you got in today's reading, Reconnect with Spirit, feels very much a continuation of the card that you had last month. To continue to give yourself and create the spaciousness that you need to move into this new cycle. The Otter, which it's a lovely card to have there above this, is facing away from the reading, so that it's kind of two different ways that we could look at that. We have Comfrey, so 10 of Fire in the Herbcrafter. So I empathize with the way that you're feeling through this shift. So the 10 of Fire is one of fatigue, one of exhaustion, and that these two cards, of course, speaking to each other, being challenged, being in conflict, being in stress is very, very, it's not easy. It's not an easy process. So the fact that you have the courage and that you are continuing to move through this and work with this energy so that you can find your freedom is a really beautiful thing. And to allow yourselves to surrender to the process, to know that this opportunity, this experience is in your highest, it's for your greatest good. And we have a lot of these two spirit cards really speaking loud and clear to each other. So stay with it, be brave and be beautiful. Going back to the Comfrey, the 10 of Fire over here, with the Herbcrafter's Tarot, there is the invitation to use the particular herb as the medicine of the energy that you are working through. And with the overwhelming energy of the 10 of Fire, the invitation is to take your time, to take things in small pieces, to take things in small chunks. And the Otter up here wants to play, wants to be joyful, but presently his back is to the beauty of these three cards here. There is a gentle ease that is emerging, almost a dance. Look at the energy here and here and here. And so even if just in a very small way, to invite that ease, to invite that energetic dance and flow into your life will definitely support you through all that you are experiencing. It may very well be that you find that dance, that ease in the water. Let's have a look at these pairs of cards because there's something else that is coming up here. The Otter, this came up the other day when I was doing the video on the animal tarot cards. I think the Otter was one of the Temperance cards. So this is quite a versatile creature. And just a reminder that this Otter is as comfortable in the water as on the land. So just keep that in mind. And also look at the way this is drawn, the way this is. So we have almost a cup shape here. I'm just kind of looking at the artwork. And this arrow is pointing straight towards this Two of Cups, almost as if this playful, fiery energy of the water is the kick in the pants, the energy that is needed to encourage you to kind of work with this energy. Seems kind of bizarre, but that's one of the things that's coming up for me. And then when I look across the table to these two here, the Mother of Swords is very, very intuitive and not often drawn that way. So this feels like an innate quality that you possess that you may simply have forgotten about. So to really allow yourself to kind of take that word and to surrender into this experience. Okay, so this was a very strong message that came through in the January reading and is being repeated here. What I see here is the encouragement to take things in baby steps because both of those cards feel very overwhelming. So please let me know how any of this is arising for you presently. And if any of these cards or these pairs of cards don't seem to make much sense, or contrarily make perfect sense, I would love to hear about that in the comments below. Number 7, the Chariot. I get a very different energy from this Chariot card than the one we were looking at in January with the Druidcraft. There is, on one hand, almost this futility because the task for the salmon is near impossible. Yet there is this drive and this internal compass that is so strong to find its way back to the place where it was born, regardless of the external circumstances. And so if, as one who has the Chariot in there as their card for this year, you can find even the smallest piece of that, this is going to be quite the year for you. In the reading that I did in January, it was one of those readings that was, go big or go home. It was full of powerful, strong cards with potential really for anything to come to fruition, be it in family or business. So that theme, as it carries through for this year, I remember the wish card was over here. And to me, that felt almost like a card of caution, to remain humble, to remain respectful, and to keep an eye on the big picture. Because the eagle, right? The eagle is lurking overhead, ready to snatch you out of the water. But perhaps that internal drive is even stronger, and you know exactly where it is that you are going, where you need to be going. 3 of Wands. I believe that is the exact same card you had in the January reading, which tells me that you are definitely on path, and that if you have not made a step in the direction and committed to moving forward, that it is definitely time to do that. So here we are in the new moon in Pisces, and you are, with the new moon energy specifically, you have this opportunity to set very specific goals and very specific intentions. And you have another beautiful, beautiful card here, the fulfillment of the Suit of Cups. And I'm going to look at the element of water here because I'm seeing and feeling the water here. Usually this particular card has, to me, more of a sense of balance. And I just want to be mindful of how that plays out. So we have 9 of Swords, which looks quite ferocious in this deck, and the 7 of Pentacles. So the 7 of Pentacles might actually not be your best friend in these circumstances. If this is the second time this card has come up for you and you have not stepped forward, you might need more of a kind of a kick in the, a kick in the backside to get going. And perhaps we'll get one of those cards here, but there might be something else going on. So we have Dragonfly. Beautiful combination of the element of water and the element of air. Very much a sense of magic. And look at the blue and the blue. Birth. Well, this was a theme that came up in January. And next to the 10 of Cups, I believe I mentioned if you wanted to have a family, or that was a direction that you were going. And we also talked about the possibilities of, birthing a business or something like that. A little bit confused about why the 9 of Swords is there. And perhaps something has come to light that, I'm going to go back to that. The wish card from January, I said, be careful what you wish for. Perhaps something has come to light that you weren't quite ready for. And you need to revise. You need to go back and redo and edit, and this is keeping you awake at night. This we'll see what that's about. I'll pull over the Lumina Tarot. So we have the Adalita of Water. So more water. The Knight of Water. So if we're going to kind of go with an RWS theme, we can definitely be speaking to romance, maybe romance and passion leading to babies. We have communication. Oh, that is such a gorgeous card. Tegan Sweeney. That's the artist who does Lauren Aletta's decks. That is just beautiful. And what is striking me here is very Two of Cups-ish. How those voices are kind of joining harmoniously and beautifully blending together. And so what is that message? And that message, communication, is sitting next to the Swords card. So this nightmare, this bad dream, this whatever has arisen here, perhaps can be cleared up by clearing up your communication, by actually communicating in the first place. Is that a place where you have fallen short? So we talked about projects, we talked about growing a business, we talked about growing a family. So in moving forward with all of these steps, it's very important that your words are in alignment with your actions, and your actions are in alignment with your words, right? So you're walking the talk. And this little salmon here in the center is perhaps a little too strong-headed, not seeing the big picture. We need to really have a look at all of these cards in relation to the Chariot, and then look at the pairs of cards and the pairs of cards in relation to each other. So the kinds of questions I would ask myself would primarily be in relation to the harmony with my environment. So look at your situation, look at your surroundings. When I look over here at the Adalita of Water, the Knight of Cups, the Knight of Water, we're in the desert, we have the blossoms, we have the air, looks like making tea with the ocotillo. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right. So there's definitely a harmony with the environment. There's a harmony with the environment here. This all over here looks very harmonious. And for some reason, perhaps you are uncomfortable with your environment. You're struggling against your environment. There's something about your situation where you do, and you actually feel like a fish out of water. Why do you feel that way? What is coming up for you? So this is a year for you to really begin to explore how you can and how you can move forward, being in trust, trusting that internal clock, trusting that intuition, trusting that inner self to guide you. This salmon does not question that inner voice, but for some reason you are questioning that inner voice. The other thing that I'm seeing over here is, you can take this metaphorically, but these smokestacks here are letting off steam, right? They're letting off, we can go other ways, but let's just say they're letting off steam. The wolves here are also letting off steam, howling into the moon or howling into the night. And I want to ask you, what is it that you need to release? What is it you need to let go of? Perhaps that is what is holding you back from stepping forward with this Three of Wands. And that's why the Three of Wands has come up again, is because we need to kind of have a look at the steps that you need to take in order to step forward on this journey. And this might be something that is not sufficiently processed. Maybe you haven't talked about it, journaled about it. It's something that you've kept inside, and it feels like it's been boiling up inside of you. So before this turns into the Tower, it looks like it's very much time to quite literally blow off some steam. And so if that has to come out through words, make sure that your communication is like I said this before, it's in alignment with your actions, it's in alignment with your intentions. And I think the last thing that I want to say for the Chariot people is to just acknowledge the abundance of watery images, watery metaphors in your reading, and just be mindful that we are where we are astrologically, and how when there's an abundance of water, things can feel too emotional, they can feel too intense. And so to keep that in perspective, because we have, yes, this is an air card because the dragonfly is a fly, but it is at home in the water, which really is a beautiful union of these two energies. This birth card also feels very watery. So whatever it is that you are birthing, be it the business or a family or something else, that this is coming from the womb. This is coming from the waters of the womb, but it feels entirely supported here. We have a lot of water going on in the center, and we have water over here as well. So just really take your time with that. I'm looking here at air, air, air. So when there's a lot of air and a lot of water, it doesn't feel particularly grounded. So take some time this month as you're kind of regrouping, setting new intentions with the new moon, to make sure that you feel like you are on solid ground. And I know that you have the skills to do that. Otherwise, this particular card wouldn't be there. And maybe this is just a reminder, to repot your plants, or to get your hands dirty, or do something that actually makes you feel connected, because with all this air and all this water in this reading, you're definitely going to need that. All right, number 8, Strength. I'm keeping the cards in the same order as I did for the January readings. Even though this is number 11, we'll consider Strength number 8 for the purpose of these card of the year readings. Let's just have a look at this image, because it's really quite something. We have the solidity of the pelvis, of the pelvic bone here. So you feel that strong grounding energy. And then we have the roses sitting on either side of the pelvis, kind of symbolizing that Swadhisthana chakra, that feminine energy of the waters, which is really kind of beautiful. And then we have the snake rising up, so the Kundalini energy winding its way, moving its way up toward the card. And there is this beauty and this inner fortitude necessary to carry on with those practices, to have that experience. So yeah, that's really quite the Strength card. Very different than the woman with the boar in the Druidcraft Tarot. So looking back to the January reading for the Strength people, this was very much a reading about cultivating your inner strength, and if necessary, creating a sacred place, sacred space, so you could kind of step away and do the work, the inner work that needs to be done to actually feel this strength. And it's quite funny, not funny really, that we have this Kundalini energy rising in the deck that I chose for this month, when that is really kind of the theme, or one of the themes that was arising in the January reading. You had that beautiful Beauty Way card with the lotus over in the top left corner that really kind of speaks to that inner journey. So this Strength card is, it almost feels very much like a Hermit card. It feels very much like it's going to be a year of reflection for you this year. So we have 3 of Cups, Ace of Wands. And look how the fire, the flame of the Ace of Wands is kind of mirroring the head of the snake over here. I'm just kind of looking at the illustrations. There was also a sense of defensive-ness in the January reading. So there was this kind of energy of perhaps you were judged. Perhaps something happened, so you needed to create this barrier around yourself so that you could carry on, and you were not able to carry on without doing that. So just take that as part of your medicine, part of your journey. Know that it's temporary, but it might very well be needed. So don't feel badly that you've had to put up these walls for the time being. So we have the Son of Pentacles. The Son of Pentacles. So I'm sensing that there's a slower energy. Definitely a slower energy going on here. A lot of reflection. And the Son of Pentacles is across from the Three of Cups, which is quite a, I would say, not reflective energy. Definitely receptive because it's the element of water. We have that more divine energy with the triangles and the trinities and the first completion in the Suit of Cups. So we may have to go in a little bit of a different direction rather than a more traditional RWS meanings, because I really want to kind of stick with the theme and the energy of what was going on in January and allow these images to come forth. And the Daughter of Swords doesn't want to deal with this, doesn't want to be a part of this. She's looking away and doesn't quite know what to do with this process. So the Ace of Wands, what is that about? Well, so here we have the swan. Such a beautiful, beautiful symbol. And we have the mirror of the swan in the pond. And so that metaphor kind of speaks for itself. We have gratitude. So we have the green color of the heart chakra. In the Herbcrafters, we have the Seven of Earth. So that's a pretty solid energy. And speaks and is very much in alignment with the Son of Pentacles. So it's definitely not going anywhere. Very, very grounded, which is probably what you need on this journey. To have too much fire or too much emotion will make this really, really challenging. So when we are doing this kind of inner work to firmly plant ourselves on the ground, to do grounding meditations before we kind of drift off into the cosmos, it's a healthy part of the process. And then we have decisions. This card kind of reminds me of the Three of Pentacles. But if we look at this more in a spiritual kind of way, and also look at the Daughter of Swords as kind of gazing to that card, what are the decisions? What are the decisions that have to be made? Let's look at some of these pairs and see if we can deepen our understanding of what is really going on here. This decision, I have a feeling this decision is about committing to this. And that there's a part of you that would rather not go here, would rather not dig deep and do this kind of spiritual work. It's a lot easier to focus externally. And because of the nature of this artwork, this decision to me speaks very much to the inner work, to the spiritual work, to this being a year of digging deep and finding out what really kind of makes you tick, what really makes you strong. There is this internal flame. I talked about the internal flame with the heart, and this internal flame is sitting here. This deep work, this deep reflection that needs to happen is kind of all over the reading, right? It's here in the Son of Pentacles. It's here at the quiet contemplation, sitting underneath the oak tree. And then over here with the Three of Cups and the Gratitude card. So with the energy of the heart space, gratitude is one of the biggest medicines for working through any of the grief or any of the challenging emotions that are lingering in this part of the body, energetically or physically, and to come into celebration and gratitude will definitely help to move some of that energy. And perhaps that is why that Daughter of Swords over there is just turning away. This is too hard. Perhaps there was some pain around this. Maybe she feels guilty to be in this kind of mood. And these are all kind of questions that I want you to ask yourself. And if there's other things that are arising from some of these cards or some of these pairs, again, I look forward to chatting with you below. You may recall in the January reading, I think it was right here, there was an owl card. And to me, that spoke of the possible need for a mentor or a guru. And I keep looking at that Daughter of Swords over there with her back to all of this sweetness, her back to her own internal strength, her back to her own creativity, this internal flame, this internal light, her back to this celebration, the gratitude, and also her back is to doing the work of, looking at her own reflection, perhaps doing some shadow work. So the guru actually means dispeller of darkness, which kind of speaks to this card here as well too. There's so many interesting little weavings between all of these cards and the previous reading and this reading. So take your time with it. And if this does resonate, then you'll know which direction to be going. But for me, the biggest question is, how can we get her to turn around and to face some of this over the next few weeks and months? Number 9, the Hermit. The January reading spoke to the journey of internal work. And the surrounding cards supported the idea of a year of self-reflection, self-study, and that you may need to physically isolate yourself in order to do that, or at least create space in your existing surroundings so that that can happen. Towards the end of the reading, over on the right bottom side, the plant card was a moss card. And that whole idea of the fragility, strength, fragility really struck me almost as a really important carryover message from last year, because last year would have been a strength year for you. So to really embrace all that you learned in that experience. And the other part of that was that the moss grows slowly in the shadows. And so not to expect big revelations week to week or day to day, but to really embrace this whole year as a whole year of the Hermit energy. So 9 of Wands. It's actually a really beautiful card. And we can kind of look to the illumination and the whole idea of festival as well too, if you're familiar with these kinds of lanterns and why they might be released, rather than looking at an associated RWS meaning for that, because I really feel the beauty and the ritual of that particular 9 of Wands. Other things may come up when we turn over the oracle cards. But this, to me, speaks of that kind of ritual and ceremony and altars and things like that. 4 of Swords. I believe there was a 4 of Swords there was 7 of Swords in the last reading. Okay. Ace of Pentacles. The process, the path of the Hermit year will likely also be one of great healing. And I love that the Son of Cups is fully present and facing in towards the Hermit. It speaks to intuition and to trusting in that gentle side, that slower side, the softer side that we call femininity, the lunar aspects. And I see these two cards supporting each other very much, the Son of Cups and the Nine of Wands. Something is being born, something is birthing, something is coming up from the soil deep within your soul, perhaps. You have the not the cosmic egg, the black egg. So the black egg speaks to the throat chakra in this deck. What may be revealed this year is a deep inner truth, something that has lain dormant for a long time. Look at all those gorgeous colors. Okay, over here in the Lumina, we have intuitive and psychic prowess. Okay. And we have temperance. This is a very peaceful kind of reading. I have several questions about these four cards here, and perhaps you have some of your own. But I'm gazing at the Son of Cups and this reflection of what is in the glass is down here deep within his soul. And so, and his back is to this inner truth. But he is facing the Hermit, and he is facing this new growth. So I'm hoping that you can allow yourself to go here and allow this truth to be revealed. There's a lot of light hovering over him, which may help. But his back is also to this celebration. So there's some reason that he is not comfortable with the energy of this card, perhaps. And if I look from this card across to the intuition and psychic powers, speaks more to this card here, also to this card here. And when I look at the Hermit and these little ducklings resting in the underbrush, in the bush here, I wonder if there's been a lot of pain. If something terribly painful happened last year or happened in the last few years, and the journey of the Hermit this year will allow you to process all of that. When I look to the Temperance card, it feels to me like a card of moderation. In order for this plant to grow, it needs the right amount of water, it needs the right amount of sun, and I think that's a direct mirror of what this year is about. It's about a year of heightened awareness into your own temperance, and that may very well have been a problem in the past, and perhaps that is the truth that needs to be faced and to be revealed. Please let me know if any of these cards are speaking to you, and I look forward to chatting with you below. Number 10, Wheel of Fortune, or in this case, Fortune. Just glancing at this card, I'm reminded of all of the cycles, the natural cycles of the universe that are present around us all the time. And doing these readings during the energy of the new moon, it's really important, for me at least, to acknowledge these cycles. And the more that I practice, the more that I acknowledge all of these changes that are going around us all of the time, the more natural it becomes to be with change and to understand that change is normal, change is natural. It's just part of everything that's going on. And I think in the January reading, there was a little bit of resistance possibly to change. And as we look at the energy of these cards, we'll see if that is reflected as well, or there is something else that needs to come to the forefront. There was also a pretty sweet balance between the stronger and gentler cards in the reading. The sun shone down over the Lady's Mantle card, showing tremendous balance and support between those two energies. And over on the left-hand side of the card, you had the Elephant down below and the Thunder card above. And to me, those two cards just fit so beautifully together. The elephant represents that earthiness, a worldliness of being here and present in this third dimension. And then the buffalo and the thunder card represents the fifth dimension, our spirituality, and that energy, that cosmic sound that is always reverberating through the universe. So it was a pretty beautiful spread of cards that you had in January. So let's see what we've got here. We've got Two of Wands, which kind of goes well. It's a year of change. Time perhaps to make some decisions. Daughter of Cups. It's a beautiful, gentle energy. I'm just really curious what's coming up here. Transformation. Transformation. Is that a dandelion? The leaves look a bit like a dandelion. All right, here is Seven of Swords. When I look at that card, I see truth. I see standing in your truth. And to be comfortable with standing in your truth. And to learn to stand there and to be okay to be different. Be okay to be standing alone. You don't have to be with the other swords. You know, you can step out, and then below that is the Eight of Pentacles. And so there is this sense of, for me, this is a deep card of reflection. Sometimes we have to go back to the past in order to uncover something that we have forgotten. And that can be reflected in business, something within our physical body. Perhaps that will be reflected here. Oh my goodness. So sweetness, the sweetness of the nectar. Look at the bee. Let me know how that reflects in your life. The sweetness of the peaches, the sweetness of the nectar. That is a Nine of Water, so the Nine of Cups and the Eight of Pentacles. So very feminine kind of energy. This feels like Empress energy. And then in the Lumina, we have perfect balance, masculine energy. Okay, so what is this choice? What is this decision you have to make about going one way or the other way? Listening to your internal wisdom will be extremely important in this transformation. The Daughter of Cups is just beginning to explore her emotions, her intuition. And so I said this in January, it's really important to take your time with these changes and not to rush through these changes. So the Swords card that you had, I think in January, was the Knight. And so there was a sense of urgency. But I feel more now there's a sense of truth. And so you want to make sure that this truth is coming from your internal wisdom, not coming from from anything externally. There's something very special about the balance between the Divine Masculine card and the sweetness of these cards below, as well as the relationship between the Masculine card and the transformation sitting all the way over here. Let's read from Lorna Letta's guidebook for the Masculine card. The sacred masculine essence of yourself poses the power of radical strength. This is where your masculine energy steps into a place of heart to create form through strategy anchored in spiritual connection and love. The sacred masculine within you is now more interested in building a life through sacred union, embodying the transformative power of vulnerability and compassion as a means to hold space, cement agreements, and encourage healing. Acting from this place paves a courageous path forward for a new future and legacy. There is no need for you to continue to exert power and force in your life relationships, or creative endeavors, it is time to step into the new and more aligned sacred masculine agreement within that awaits you. This is where you hold confidence without arrogance, rational thinking without the need to control, forward movement through fluidity rather than force, and love and honor by extending compassion and understanding. From here, certainty, sanctity, and strength is built. This consciousness is not confined to solely men, but both sexes. That's one of the cards that just has this really beautiful description. So this transformation is allowing that sacred masculine energy to come into balance. And there will be a component of this, of, again, truth and wisdom emerging. So please let me know how this shift is manifesting for you in 2020. Number 11, Justice. I spent quite a bit of time in the January reading talking about integration and how this year is an important year for allowing some of life's lessons to really settle, to really understand them, and to allow them to take hold and to root in your physical body, in your mental body, in your energetic body. And over in the left-hand corner of the reading, there was that sense of grounding and rootedness. We had, I believe, the buffalo, and there were that Five of Pentacles was sitting there, and it felt kind of heavy and grounded. And so where I was going with that was the process of integration is not one of rushing through life. We did talk about that a little bit in the change card as well, too, in the fortune card. So remember that throughout this year, as some of these lessons begin to kind of make sense to you, to keep going back to that sense of grounding. The other pattern that seemed to be quite clear was the relationship between connection and disconnection. So we'll see if that carries through in this reading and how that might play out as a pattern that is going to come into balance in 2020. All right, so let's see what we've got here. Eight of Wands. That's a lot of energy. So there may be some divine message. Remember, this is not only a card of swiftness, but also a card of messages. And so this might represent a divine message that is being delivered in some way. Ooh, Six of Cups. So we might have to go back to the past, do a little bit of inner child work, look back to the ancestors to find those messages. What else we got here? Two of Swords and Six of Pentacles. So we have two sixes, which are quite harmonious, beautiful kinds of numbers. And we have garlic and other herbs, sage, rosemary, thyme, and lavender, it looks like. Let's start by looking over here, because I also see the 1-1 being repeated here in this Two of Swords. Okay. Oh, hello. Receiving frequency, receiving frequency. Did I not say integration? Integration. So that is what the Buddha is doing. Buddha is integrating, receiving frequency, understanding the great cosmos, the great messages that come from time spent in meditation. And then we have Four of Water, mint. Well, you also had mint in the January reading. So I would go to the plant. I would go to the medicine of the plant. I would incorporate mint. I mean, it's not summer where I live. If it's summer where you are and you have mint in abundance, that's something that you might want to bring into your beverages, bring into your meals, your food, even just bringing the essence into your home, or alternatively bringing in the essential oil, something like that, because you've got mint in both of these readings. Also, that is the Four of Water. So we were talking a little bit in January about disconnect. And so that theme is still kind of here. And perhaps that level of connection that you are seeking could come through something like a gardening, because we have more herbs, garlic here as well too. So maybe that you can find that level of connection through getting your hands into the dirt. The other thing that I'm looking at here is this extreme balance, extreme difference between this kind of cosmic energy in these two cards and this very earthy grounding energy here. So in order to be in this space, in order to keep processing this kind of information, which is part of your journey in the Justice year, this is going to be really, really important medicine for you. What is the going on in your mind in the Two of Swords? Resilience. I'm still looking over here at this Two of Swords and not quite seeing what that is about. So if you know what that Two of Swords is, can you let me know in the comments below? And then we have the Phoenix. Ooh, okay. This looks like a really big cycle. I don't think this is just about this particular lunar cycle, which was one of the intentions for these follow-up readings. The Phoenix. So the Phoenix is in this deck is connected to the root chakra and that transformation of burning through the karmas, burning through all of the challenging energy of the root chakra. So the root chakra is connected to family. It's connected to the relationship with family, right relationship with family. And here we have this card of nostalgia. So these two cards are definitely speaking to each other, and there will be patterns that emerge, not only this lunar cycle, but throughout your year in working with justice and integrating the lessons of the root chakra, probably throughout the remainder of the year. So I would definitely spend some time allowing the questions that you have about your relationships with family members and what you have and have not yet processed in regards to that. That might be, could very well be what these kinds of questions are. I just love these two cards. It's like, it's kind of crazy energy. And also this is a very, very magical card. So please feel supported, divinely supported in your work, because to pull these three amazing cards here is really, really quite something. The key word in soul trees is resilience, and the color is yellow. And I do want to go back to something I said in the last reading, and that was about digestion and digesting life. Sorry, this yellow is speaking to me. We also have these beautiful blossoms here. So there's a couple of things that are coming forth. I see blossoms and pink and pink. Do you remember I said how we digest food is how we digest life? And the resilience. So resilience is about strengthening your immunity, strengthening your stamina. And when we do a lot of spiritual work, which these are a lot of internal work, which these three cards speak to, we need to make sure that we are nourishing our body. And so you've got this energy over here, right, that's helping you with that. But there was something about the disconnect here. So if you have issues with food, oh, look, we've got yellow, yellow, fire, fire. So there's something to that. So to make sure that you feel connected and nourished through the food that you eat. And if your tendency is to eat fiery foods, spicy foods, you might want to consciously bring that more into balance. Resilience. I would really suggest you write that word down and to just kind of see how that plays in different aspects of your life, as far as your immune system, as far as your stamina at work, as far as, resilience and stamina in general, especially if you're aware of some of these patterns with connection and disconnection that we talked about earlier. belonging, not belonging. Do you feel like you belong in this world, or do you feel that you belong in your family? I think these are all really kind of important questions. So there's a few themes that are emerging here. And like I said, I don't think these are going to be resolved in one lunar cycle, but it's definitely something. These are points that you need to write down and to be working with through the months that go on. And I will, of course, do another follow-up reading to this one, but it feels like, especially for you, I mean, this is the first one of the ones I've done so far today that feel like there's a lot of homework to do. And there's a lot of time that's going to be needed for all of this to percolate, and to settle, which was, something I mentioned in the January reading for this card. So please take your time with all of these things and be kind to yourself and ask questions and seek help, and be okay with not knowing which way is the right way. But also remember that this Two of Swords is very much an internal gaze. So if you look at a traditional RWS deck, the woman is always blindfolded, right? So this is an internal gaze, an internal reflection, which is exactly what's going on here. Okay, number 12, Hanged Man. Such a gorgeous picture. I love all that cosmic energy inside the cocoon. So this year for you is really one of hanging upside down, quite literally, and gaining a new perspective on life, your issues, your relationships, everything that is going on around you. I said in the January reading, anything can be revealed if you are courageous and tenacious enough. And so I think that second word is really important, because there is a stick-to-itness, right, of this card, that it's something that is going to be your theme for the whole year. So not to be in a rush with the process of gaining new perspective, because sometimes that can be really hard, right? Because we want that clarity to come now. We want the clarity to come yesterday. The other couple things that spoke to me in the January reading was the relationship between the bear and the Hanged Man and the eagle and the Hanged Man. And the eagle, of course, has that clear sight from high above, and that will really support and help with that Hanged Man journey, because sometimes the Hanged Man journey is one of a limited vision because of your perception, because of your experience, and the bear kind of confounds that, right? Because the bear also, much like the hermit, right, is in kind of in hibernation and small picture. So the eagle energy really kind of helps to expand and support that. So I thought it was great that those two cards showed up in your reading in January. I think as you go through every month, important to be very intentional about different ways you can gain new perspective, because just like everything else, it is a practice for sure. Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at the cards that you have for this cycle, this lunar cycle, second new moon in February, in Pisces. The sun is also in Pisces, so things could be feeling quite emotional for you, and this Hanged Man energy could be truly overwhelming, which is what this Seven of Cups definitely could be. But also, this could very much be also too part of the healing energy. Like the Ten of Wands it's an exhausting place to be, right? It is the end, the saturation of that suit of fire, and it might feel actually quite comfortable to get into that cocoon and to start fresh, or to begin to take time to do that. And so we have another card of endings. So we have the Ten of Swords and the Ten of Wands. So this is it is kind of perfectly in sync with the energy of this card, right? It's time to let these old patterns go. It's time to acknowledge the ending of these two suits. The Ten of Swords in particular, because the Ten of Swords is one of really letting go of all those challenges that didn't quite work out with communication, with the egoic experience, with that constant wrestling of the mind and that lack of connect between the mind and the heart space. And a beautiful that Mother of Pentacles is sitting down there to kind of ground you and give you the support that you need, because this process can also make you feel a little lightheaded. And when we do a lot of this kind of work, there is that tendency to feel lightheaded and lack of grounding. So to have her there, just know that she very much is there in support of you. And then your medicine will be mugwort. Okay, so not necessarily a grounding card, the High Priestess, but a card to put you in a place of trust. Very important that every single one of your aha moments, that you write them down and that you give them due consideration and not glean over anything. Like, really enjoy every step along the way of your Hanged Man journey. Trust that inner voice, trust that inner sight, because it will begin to increase the more committed you are to the Hanged Man process. So let's see what we have here next to the Ten of Swords. The other thing I'm seeing here too is all the garbage inside the bird, and the bird actually died because it ate all this garbage that humans leave lying around, which is just so very, very sad. Over on the left, we have the storytelling card, which to me is very much in shadow for this particular reading. Storytelling is it's beautiful. It's beautiful to share our experiences, but what can tend to happen is we repeat the same stories over and over and over, and we aren't able to kind of get out of our storytelling and actually see the lessons for what they are, see the experiences for what they are. And so you have had to go into the cocoon to process that because you weren't able to deal with that in the outside world, if that makes sense. And part of those stories might be connected very well, quite literally, to the experience of the Ten of Swords that you see on this deck, but more so in that disconnect between the heart and the mind and the other things that I've mentioned here so far today. We have emerging. Aw, that's fantastic. So to me, that's just like, it's really beautiful. And also emerging, High Priestess, that's very like, that feels good. That feels like you should feel good about this process. And you will come out the other side braver, stronger, and clearer, right? Much, much clearer. And here you have the eagle again, which is awesome. It's really nice when we do these follow-up readings, if you have, and these are completely different decks, but you got the eagle card again, which means that clear sight, that supportive energy of eagle vision, of the large birds, the condor, the large winged animals is there to guide you. And so to look to the eagles, to look to the birds for insight, for clarity, be in their energy, notice them when you're out in nature, notice them, when you're driving, and just feel connected in that way, and to see the signs and be with the signs. Yeah, so let's just kind of reflect on all of these cards and how they can be a part of this lunar cycle, and then moving forward, because some of these you could let go of in a heartbeat. Some of these things might become clear as crystal. I was going to say clear as mud, clear as crystal in an instant. And I think that's one of the things we forget, is that change can happen like that, right? It doesn't need to linger on and on and on. sorry, our stories don't need to linger on and on and on, which is what this card is about. It's in the shadow side. It's about that. It's about not letting go of the stories, not really seeing them what they're, not really seeing what they are, not seeing them what they are for, as a lesson, as a teaching, as an experience for you to grow as a soul. Yeah, and I keep looking at these martini glasses and wondering if that was part of your journey too, and part of the burnout is a result of that. So sometimes you can take the cards literally, other times we have to look at them quite metaphorically. So let me know, which of these cards is really speaking to you. But to have the High Priestess here, the emerging card, it's kind of this beautiful triangle here. You have this lovely supportive energy. You have all this garbage that's right there, ready to go. So it's really, really beautiful. And then to have the repeating card of the eagle feels very, very supportive. So let me know how I can continue to support your journey this year with your card of the year. And as always, I can expand on these readings and we can work one-on-one together. Number 13, Death. Okay, so this is not by any means an easy card to have as a card of the year. It could signify several endings that will happen in 2020. But more than that, I feel this is a card to give you permission to wind up those parts of your life that you are fully aware have run their course. And so in a way, this card is a blessing. And some of those cards that you had in January definitely confirm that. And also that through the ending, there is an opportunity for a beginning. So with the gift of the Death card, you will be able to begin to explore new opportunities. But as this is your card for the whole of 2020, then there's this sense of courageousness and bravery that is needed in navigating and acknowledging and putting to bed whatever it is you need to put to bed. So you can go back and look at the January reading if you haven't already done so, but you might want to make a list of anything that you suspect is coming to a close, and to kind of have open pages in your journal to reflect on those things. And so the Father of Wands may very well resist these endings, or not so much resist them, because the Father of Wands likes to move on, likes to try new things, always full of energy, and might not be the kind of energy that is supportive of winding things up. So this might be a little bit of resistance within yourself. And then we have the Eight of Cups. So that energy definitely is in support of winding things up and moving in a new direction. We are, of course, in the a lot of water energy going on right now. So it might feel like this is the right time. You know exactly what you have already invested enough into emotionally, and it's time for you to put that to rest. So that might already be abundantly clear. Ooh, and then we have Fire Ant. So this is kind of challenging energy here. In this deck, each of the cards has an element, and then the elements are also ranked by a hierarchy, and this is the lowest energy of the element of fire, and there's a lot of resistance in this card. So this can represent anger, it can represent the struggle really with the solar plexus chakra. So that kind of, talks to the Father of Wands, and this will perhaps be your resistance through this month, through this lunar cycle, through the next the next few weeks or a couple of months. So communication will be extremely important, and we'll have a look and see if there's other, what the sword card is, and also if there's anything else that speaks to that communication. You might need to be in, or to be more focused on the authenticity of your communication as you wind up certain events this month, this cycle. That's probably what that card is there for. And Three of Swords. So some of these things that you put to bed will not be the easiest. And I guess the greatest message, well, look what that Oracle card is. But when I see that card, it's really important to be in that pain, to be in the experience of the Three of Swords, whatever that is for you, and don't feel like you have to rush through it. Because if we do that, that grief, that loss can linger and linger and linger. And so there might be something going on here, because Swords also represents communication. It also represents the heart space. And what have we here? Oh, okay. Final step. So this is actually quite great. Quite great. This month, in the not too distant future, if you're not already aware, there is already something in 2020 that is looking like it's ready to come to an end. And that might very well have to do with the energy surrounding the Father of Wands, perhaps with your anger or how you react to things. So what is coming to an end might be a pattern. It might be a pattern that you are absolutely done with, and it could very easily be reflected in somebody who is around you, somebody's on the outside. So if the Father of Wands is a figure who is in your life, who is reflecting this energy, know that that energy is also within you, and that is part of the pattern that you are likely ready to release and to let go of. Well, that's kind of nice, right? Because the Two of Pentacles helps bring us back down, brings us into balance, and reminds us how important that balance is. And to be in the flow of that. So to find the ease with your step. And we have, if you look at these two cards here, we have the kind of flow, right, of the, I'm drawing a blank right now, the infinity sign. As well, we have that same kind of shape and symbol here. So there's something to that. There's something about that. There's something about that. And if you can't see the keyword on this card, it says final step. So it really is up to you to take charge of the closure, to be, I've said this a few times in readings, this work is hard. You have to be brave. Mother of Oats. Sorry, not Mother of Oats, Mother of Water. Well, that's a nice supportive energy, and definitely in contrast with the Father of Wands across the reading. And that will help. She will be there to hold space for you, to listen to all that you are going through. And so if you have a Mother of Water, either in your circle or within your family, then that's definitely somebody that you want to spend time with and lean on to help you process through this particular ending, as well as the other endings that are coming for you this year. So clear communication. And look, we've got blue and blue. I'm just seeing this here. Look to the colors, because the colors can really tell us a lot about the reading. You can look at the red, 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 blue, blue, green, green. Sometimes just the colors themselves will help you to see something that you would have otherwise missed. I don't know if this means anything to you, but these four cards here seem to tell a pretty clear story about something that needs to come to an end. And there is, the part of this is communication, part of this is anger, part of this is reaction to the anger, part of this is reaction to the poor communication. And then there's this sense of just, too many balls in the air, and it is time to walk away from that, emotionally spent. So if you know what this story is, perhaps just acknowledge it. You could write about it. You could share it with a friend. You could share it in another way. But be aware that its cycle, its natural cycle, is definitely coming to an end. And there's something about this. I don't know what this is. So look for infinity signs. Look for infinity signs in your environment. Sometimes these cards are about symbols. Just about the symbols. And those symbols may be revealing something externally for you in your environment as well, too. There are little baby snakes emerging from these eggs. That's pretty cool. So let me know. Let me know how your year is progressing, if there have already been natural conclusions to things that you were aware of, or if something has suddenly come to an end that was unexpected. And that might be what this is about too, because when endings are unexpected, they can be a little more challenging to process. And so really to take your time and find the balance with that is important. This is the end of the first video, and I will carry on with the temperance reading in part 2.